I'm talking today to Tony Duffin, the Sustainability Director from ClearPlan Project Management. Tony, what can you tell us about sustainability options with regards to extending a property?
Well, okay, there's lots to talk about here. First of all, sustainability means different things to different people. It might mean a very low environmental impact building, but it might also mean a good financial, pragmatic approach to extending the building and the energy side of things. And the particular thing about adding an extension to a property is that it's a very good time to think about how you integrate it with the existing building. And now most people will think about that in terms of the spaces and the external elevations, but there are also energy, comfort and sustainability objectives that you can put in place at this time. Generally speaking, I'm talking about large extensions here, which might add perhaps half the ground floor area again or more, because for that sort of scale, then the advice that we provide is worth having at the design stage. If it's a smaller extension, it's about just tying it in well and using the latest standards. That's probably enough, unless you're going to refurbish the rest of the building while you do it. And I've talked about refurbishments in another podcast. So, first of all, I would recommend beginning with a site visit. All buildings have their own character, and there are details which need to be identified at this early stage. And that is particularly important where you're building an extension with new materials and new techniques to new standards and linking it to an older building which might have 100-year-old construction. I also will discuss the project with the client so that we can both understand what is achievable and I understand what the client is planning to do and what their aims and objectives are from the sustainability point of view, the energy point of view, the financial point of view and the environmental side. And, of course, we set some constraints, and one obvious one is the budget. I would then recommend analysing the building with the help of our thermal model, and this is a diagnostic tool, a bit like a doctor having tests done, and it allows you to recognise, in the case of extensions, how the new part of the building is relevant in terms of the energy use and the heat losses compared to the old building. Generally, unless you're extending a very new property, it's likely that the extension is going to be better insulated than the existing building. And you need to understand this because it's probably a good idea to think about improving the existing building while you're building your extension. In some cases, this can be very simple, and there are many ways to look at it. So if you have a building which is already rendered, then you're probably going to render the extension and tie the two together visually. Well, at that point, you could put external insulation on the whole building, render the outside in one colour, one finish, and then not only have you got one external look, but you've also got external insulation on your original building, bringing it up to modern standards. But there may be types of building where internal insulation is the only way, may even be just loft insulation, but it's still worth attention to detail on those aspects of the building. Now, the big benefit of the thermal model is that it helps me to understand how the heat is lost in the building, how we can save energy, and then particularly I can demonstrate the pros and cons of the different options to the client. Our model gives clear numbers, and I can present these with charts and graphs which help very rapid understanding of what's the most important aspect of this particular building. It's important to understand that the size, the shape and the volume of the building and the extension and their relative sizes do make a difference to what's most important. You can't do it with a one-size-fits-all approach. The type of heating system, of course, is going to be interesting. When you're putting an extension on, you might well be able to just connect it into the existing heating system, but there may be some relevance in having two systems if it's a complex link between the buildings. But there are many factors to discuss. It would depend on the individual circumstances. And for a start, a big and well-insulated extension should probably be separately controlled on a single heating zone as part of the overall heating system. And then all that work that I've done, I will summarise in a report. I think this is a good outcome from any work I do. The report records what I've done, it summarises the results, and of course it can be picked up at a later stage in the design process when perhaps the client is trying to work out why certain decisions were made, those will be explained. And the main aim will be to expose the key energy and comfort areas that you need to work on when you're adding an extension to your house. And the end result should be a more comfortable, cheaper to run building, which will be a nice family home to live in.
That's great, Tony. Thanks for your time.